Tonight I sit down with Jason Turner, one of the producers for the Kansas City 48-Hour Film Project, and talk about the annual festival. Later, I have the team captains from this year's Best Film Award winners for the 48 Film Project in Kansas City and talk about their process in making an award-winning film. The reels are rolling here on Upstart Film. Good evening and welcome to Upstart Film, where we talk to independent filmmakers about their hardships and successes when creating movie magic. From the KMOS studios in Warrensburg, Missouri, I'm your host, Josh Leonard. Thanks for tuning in. Tonight I have one of the producers of the Kansas City 48-Hour Film Project in studio, Jason Turner. How's it going, man?
Pretty good.
Thanks for joining us. All right, so go ahead and we're just going to kick it off. What is the 48-Hour Film Project?
It is a weekend of insanity. Essentially, filmmakers get together and they're given a prop, a line of dialogue, a character, and a genre, and they have to create a film within the time limit of 48 hours. It basically forces people to be on a schedule, and it gets pretty competitive, but a lot of great films come out of that short amount of time.
Now, is this something specifically for Kansas City, or?
No, actually it is international. It is all over the world. I don't know the exact number, but there's definitely teams everywhere from, Los Angeles all the way to France. I mean, they're everywhere. And there's new teams that are added every year, so it gets bigger and bigger. Sometimes in smaller areas, city producers will actually, they're like, hey, we're only 2 miles away from this city. Let's start a festival over here, and that will happen sometimes. So yeah, it's pretty big.
Okay, so you said there's a line of dialogue, a prop, and a character that has to be implemented. Mm-hmm. Where does that come from?
The 48-hour head office usually chooses that, and what they do is they try and keep it mixed up. So they keep it to a point where they say, hey, let's have something that has never been, heard of before. They usually stay away from like pop culture references or anything like that. They just kind of stick with kind of like generic stuff. But like sometimes it's like, for example, this year it was strawberries for the prop. So people, have to find creative ways to use strawberries. And they'll have like, names, like they'll have options on names. So it's really just kind of a they pick it every year and they make it seem like it's it's new, but it's like, hey, maybe that name was used a couple years ago. So, but yeah, it's very very random. It almost feels like.
Is it the same for each year for like every city, or like is it the same line of dialogue, prop, and all that, or is it different for city to city?
No, they have to change it from city to city because like if somebody, for example, in St. Louis, had their festival, the week before ours, and they could communicate and say, hey, guess what the prop is, So I mean, there is that kind of they have to be kind of secret about it. So every city is different.
Okay, well that makes sense. You don't want to YouTube it and see somebody else's stuff.
Right.
Okay, so how did you get involved? How did you become a city producer for Kansas City?
It's actually it's a long story. I'll try and give you the short version. I was a team member the year before I became a city producer. It was the worst weekend of my life. It was horrible. I had a really good team captain, but we went to a location, and it was a restaurant, and it was very noisy. We shot for like 4 hours trying to fight, sound and everything, and then at the middle of the day, the editor goes, we can't use any of that. The sound is terrible. So we basically had 24 hours to make a 48-hour film. And I threw my hands up. I said, I'm never doing this again. And apparently the city producer that managed the contest, they didn't really like it either. So they're just like, I'm not gonna do this anymore. So I was one of the team captains. I believe they sent an email out to all the team captains from that year and said, hey, what did you think of the 48? And I was like, I didn't really like it at all. But they said, we're looking for somebody to be the city producer in Kansas City. And I was just like, okay, I know some people around here. I could probably make that work. So I basically just kind of fell into it. And I knew that I had such a horrible experience that I could kind of, try to be a good producer for people and say, hey guys, don't do this, try not to shoot at a restaurant on a Saturday, kind of thing. Just trying to, use my terrible experience to become a better producer.
So is producing, is this for the 48s, is that something you enjoy? You plan on continuing to do this?
It is something I continue to enjoy. It does have its challenges sometimes, but I do find that it will be it will be something that I may not have time to do in the future because I've got several other projects going on. But right now it's fun. I get to interact with a lot of talented filmmakers, and it's a lot of fun to see what people can come up with. I thrive on creativity, and I'm really amazed at what people pull off. But yeah, I will continue to do it as long as my schedule will allow it.
Are you, since you're the city producer, are you allowed to be on a team, or do you have to?
No.
Okay.
It's funny. I actually have people that say, "Hey, I'm on a 48-hour team this year."
Not that you would want to, I guess. Anyway.
Well, if they want to be disqualified, I guess.
Right.
It's funny though because like I've had some people say, "Hey, you want to be an actor on my team?" I was like, I can't. I'm producing it, So no, I can't do it. Even if I quit, I believe it's 2 years after, I wouldn't be able to be on a team because I still have intimate knowledge of the contest, which I think is, it is what it is. But again, going back, my very first experience, I'd be like, oh, I don't ever want to do this again. But I think the best thing to do is just to get on a good team, people that you tend to work with over and over again. You're gonna be like, hey, I'm doing a 48 this year. Let's get a team together. So I've seen some teams that were rivals, in previous years, they've actually joined up and made better films.
Right. So what are some of the complications that you have when being a city producer? What are some of the complications with doing the 48?
Ticket prices. No, essentially it's kind of I'm just one person, and I have one telephone and I have one email address, sort of, and I do get questions that I feel like people could look up on the website, but I feel like they're just so they look towards me to give them all the answers, and sometimes like, hey guys, this is right on the website, or this is in the frequently asked questions. So I think it's just one of those things where I have to kind of be a guide in a way, and that's what I signed up for, to do it. But there are times where I was like, this is I've posted where we're going to be at, and communication. I think communication is probably the biggest difficulty. So I'm trying to be more open and be more, recruiting and get people to come and join it. I think probably the biggest problem also has been just people not really knowing what they're getting into, because if you are a professional filmmaker and you do this contest, you're probably going to have a professional, looking project at the end of it, even though you've only had 2 days to do it, because you have cameras, you have lights, you have actors, you have gear to make it look great. Whereas you have people that come out of, like, say, high school or college, and they'll do projects, and they're still kind of learning the filmmaking craft, and they're kind of stumbling along, and then they pick a contest which is very competitive and has all kinds of different levels of a skill, and it's just like, well, maybe you should practice, in the off season too. So I encourage everybody, to just keep working. If you want to be a filmmaker, then you're going to do it whether there's a contest or not.
Right.
So there's that.
So, and which is good, and it's really neat to see, being a part of it myself for the last 5 years, it's really neat to see all the different levels of, like, people who are really, green, and then they're getting a little bit more, as you see them progress as they go along. I know myself personally, I feel like I've progressed, and like you said, just make movies all the time. You don't have to win awards or anything like that. Just keep going. But speaking of awards, how are films awarded for 48?
They're awarded by judges. Judges will be selected, and they're usually people that are involved in the film community. And we try to find people that, they have a really good opinion, and that they can say, you know what, this movie is, this movie is good, this one's good too, but of the two, this one should win the award. So we try to find judges that will do that. The awards are, basically we try and get the judges together in a screening area. This year we were fortunate enough to have the owner of the theater, Adam Roberts. He said, hey, you guys can screen it here. So we invited our judges out, and they watched it. And they watched it in a specific order. They take a little break. Sometimes we pause it after each film so they can take notes and things like that. Say, oh, the costumes are really excellent. This one might be up for best costume. So, I mean, that's kind of how it goes. And then they talk about it for, like, a couple hours, and then they decide which one is the best film. And then they proceed, and then we get the results. And I have to be quiet because I know that people are like saying, oh, when did you know when the winners were? I usually find out a few days before it's announced, obviously. Right. But it is a really, really interesting thing, because it's just, you see so many different projects where they've come from starting off was like, oh, we have no idea where we're going, and then suddenly they pulled it all together like at the 0 hour, at 2 o'clock in the morning on Sunday. It's like, oh, we need to do this, and then they're still filming and editing, on Sunday, which is kind of scary for them. But and some teams are late. I mean, we have at least this year there was only 2 teams that were late. But it is, it's a risk that you take when you enter a time contest.
Absolutely. Well, thanks, Jason. Right now, we're going to go take a glimpse of the process for my team's entry this past year in the Kansas City 48-Hour Film Festival, and to show you how fast-paced, stressful, and tiresome, and fun doing a 48 can be. So here it is. Too late to contact them now? After the launch and time started ticking away, the team went back to home base to brainstorm on ideas on what to make based on the genre, prop, character, and line of dialogue.
Such a dramatic swerve.
Right. I just went something drastic.
Right. And then she's like, but I'm like, the conversations all happen between the guy and the girl, all happen in one spot. Just to simplify it a little bit, the conversation can happen at a dinner, and that's what we ended with what you were saying, but that should all be in one spot. The idea of it all being the same. Once the idea is set, we discussed where we could film our movie. Give it some grounding. Then, our writer found himself in an empty, quiet room and began to work his magic. While our writer was scribing away, the rest of the crew broke out the equipment for the weekend, checking over everything, making sure we were good to go for production.
Oh, you want to kill me? No, I want to do it to myself!
The next day, bright and early, the actors arrived to get ready to film. Hello, how's it going? I'm making a little film festival. Yep. Okay, so we're gonna I want to stay away from that noise.
Yeah, right. Whatever that is.
Action.
So what if I were from an alternate dimension and there was only a tiny difference between...
We only had so much time to film at each location, so we had to move quickly from place to place.
What if there were 2 time traveling me's, one from the past and one from the future?
Enough!
Cool, one more time. Same thing. Still rolling?
We'll be here in 40 minutes.
Perfect, that gives us plenty of time to get the diner scene done.
Yep.
I have a very important question to ask you.
Yes!
Yes, as in, would be cheating?
Okay, cool, cut.
Here, I'm gonna go over.
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and roll through it. It tends to be a long weekend, so any downtime is good for getting a couple of winks in. For our final location, we were able to shoot on the stage in a local theater.
Yes.
You need undies for that? Yes or no? No. And then cheers, and then see if you can whip around.
Should I actually say the words?
Say I was in a horrible explosion that burned off my entire face and gave me amnesia. Once wrapped, it was on to the edit bay, where we put everything together and turned in our film on time. Okay. 4 to 7 is the length that we need, so you're gonna love it. I'm almost done. I'm not gonna show you yet.
Yes!
Yes. If you're willing to do all that, then I have a very important question to ask.
Yes!
No.
Yes, it is cheating to have sex with me, man.
Now we have the team captains from this year's Best Film Selection in Kansas City 48-Hour Film Project in studio, Davis DeRock and Chad Crenshaw. Hey guys, welcome. Thanks for joining me here tonight.
Hey,
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So, start things off. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name is Davis DeRock, and I am an actor, writer, and director. I've been making films for about 13 years. Started in high school. Just grabbed a little goofy handy cam and started making movies. And just kind of fell in love with it from there. And then I moved out to LA after I graduated high school and went to acting school out there and just kept on making movies.
Sweet. Chad?
Well, I'm same thing, actor, writer, director. We obviously, last couple of years have been kind of working together on some stuff and do freelance production and acting and just try to keep myself busy as much as possible.
All right, so this year you guys got, what was the genre that you guys got?
We got mockumentary.
Mockumentary, all right, which could be difficult. So you made a movie called Espionage. How did you come up with the idea?
Well, basically, as soon as we got the genre, our ideas just started flying when we got in the car. We're like, all right, what are we gonna do? Gotta do something funny? Gotta do something serious? Well, we got a mockumentary, so we should probably do something funny. And we just, I don't know, we had an idea for like 2 guys in a spy school and just like kind of going through their training and what that would be like, and if they were just really horrible, but their dad like owned the school, so it was like, of course they were gonna be in it. And then we brought a couple people that we usually work together with to kind of help us develop ideas and whatnot. We usually try to keep it pretty small, just because sometimes when you have too many people, you can just be up all night just coming up with ideas, and it can get pretty convoluted. But it was nice, and I mean we got our ideas out pretty quickly, and then just got started shooting that night actually. So
what genre were you guys hoping to get this year? Everyone has that one that they want to get.
We were just kind of hoping for like drama or something. Like we tend to do a lot of funny stuff, so we were, I don't know, kind of looking for a little extra challenge to where like if we can't do something funny, then we're kind of forced into it. And we had just some things we wanted to try, but then we got mockumentary, and then of course ideas started flying, and then we were just like, well, all right, it's funny, let's do it.
So did it just like pop in your head? You're like, spies.
Not really. We actually, the first idea we had was maybe about like some guys pitching a movie, and the producers like wanted them to make a certain other movie, and so it was just kind of going to be about maybe them making a film kind of thing. But then we're like, no, that's been done a few times, so let's do something kind of out of the box, a little different.
All right. Well, we have a clip from Chad and Davis's award-winning film Espionage. Let's go ahead and take a look.
Just let him himself.
Just begin to call from our unit.
So, Spy Guys is a show we're going to premiere once we're promoted to field agents.
Yeah, we're gonna get on TV.
Yeah, we kind of got into this because it's sort of a family thing.
Yeah, I mean, our dad's a spy, our grandpa was a spy, our great-grandpa was a spy in World War I, our great-great-grandpa was a potato farmer, but he was also a peeping Tom.
Or what we call amateur spying.
All right, so that was just a little clip from their film that won this year in the Kansas City 48-Hour Film Festival. So, just staying on topic here, tell me about your guys' process. I know it's a lot different from mine. I know you've told me a little bit before, but what's your guys' process?
I think, well, one of the first things we do is kind of really focusing on keeping it small and keeping it kind of tight. But I mean, you also need a lot of people to do a lot of things, especially for us because we like to direct as well as be in it most of the time. So it's like that kind of gets pulled. So we need other people to do things while we're getting ready to act or getting in makeup or that kind of thing. So I think it's just kind of trying to find a good team that can work together and everybody is, knows where they're going to be and what they're supposed to do and then just was working hard. I think a lot of teams get tied up because people don't know what they want to do or don't know where they need to be, and it slows people down because then it's like, well, why didn't you go do that? I didn't know I was supposed to do that. So
we usually kind of start a little group page and figure out, a few weeks to a month beforehand of how many people are interested in kind of working on it or being extras or actors or whatever, and we'll have a group page where we can just communicate on a closed group, and that's I guess one of the benefits of Facebook is that
Right.
you can do that. So it's nice. So we'll have a general idea of kind of who's wanting to be a part of it, and then as time gets closer, we'll check in with people to see if they're still interested and whatnot, and we'll just have people sending us pictures of locations and different props just in case, because you never know what you're going to get. So just kind of having that stuff available and ready is a huge benefit.
Yeah, I completely understand about the keeping it small and tight. This was for our team, it was the biggest team that we've ever worked with, and actors and crew, and so I was just like all over the place, and so finally I would be like, you just take care of that, and you just take care of that, and I'm just gonna I'm gonna go breathe for a minute, and then I'll come back, and then so I completely understand keeping it small is a lot. I think it's a lot less stressful also. So you said you get people to go take pictures of locations and stuff like that. So how do you go about getting your locations, specifically for this film, but overall as well?
Usually, I mean, it's just a matter of just starting the dialogue of what do people have access to? Do we have, if we need a bar location, do we have some place we can use in the morning as a bar? Do we have, some cool houses that are willing to let us shoot in? So if we need anything in a house, we've got a nice big house or something. So it's just kind of trying to figure out what we have access to, and then once we know that, then when we go to writing on Friday, we kind of go, here's our locations that we can write in, and not trying to think of ideas and then go, oh crap, we need to have a roller skating rink for this. We didn't even think of that. We can write it specifically to the things we already know we kind of have access to, and that helps a lot, because if you're trying to write things and then trying to find it later, usually a last minute thing, it's sometimes a little hard to be like, no, we need to shoot tomorrow. Like, I could have done this if you'd have told me a week ago. So I think that's a big thing.
Right. So where did you guys shoot at for Espionauts?
Well, actually, our friend Nancy Robinson, who does a lot of wardrobe for films around here, has a studio where she keeps all her costumes and wardrobe and whatnot. And they have a really nice industrial kind of little elevator and whatnot. And so we had that location available to us. Also, just kind of random places around the street, because Kansas City's cool and you can kind of just do that. But Chad has some people with Comedy City that he works with, and they opened that up to us, their bar and their location. So we were able to have that as well.
So that's actually pretty cool. I usually try to get somebody one person when we shot ours in Excelsior, and because he was from there, and he knew the entire town. So we're like, well, I guess we're going to Excelsior Springs and gonna shoot everything there. How do you guys go about getting your actors? I know you guys do a lot of your acting, obviously, but how do you go about getting the other people involved, acting-wise?
Some of it is just that Facebook stuff. Just starting. Usually, if it starts getting close, you'll get a few people that'll kind of be like, "Hey, are you guys doing a team, or what's going on?" And if we get an idea of getting a variety of people, just so we know, hey, we need a few older actors, a few younger actors, just to kind of be on call, and just letting them know we may not need you, be prepared for that, and then just trying to gauge who's just dying to be a part of it and try to write stuff for them, and who's more available, because sometimes you need to be flexible with dates and stuff like that. So it's just kind of getting a handful of people that you can kind of call on and are kind of waiting for you to see if they can be a part of it or not.
So what's the what drives you guys to do a 48 each year? Because they are stressful, and it's tiresome, it's really rough, but at the same time it's real fun. There's all that kind of stuff.
Well, we quit every year too, so that's the other thing. I think the last couple we've done, we're like, this might be the last one, and then we get done and we have the screenings and have fun and all that kind of stuff, and then they're a year away, so that by the time the year comes around, you're like, I don't remember how bad I felt and how tired I was, so let's do it again.
It's nice because I've been doing them for different, not just the 48-hour project, but also different other 48 hours that have come about. And they're fun, and they're interesting because they teach you what you need to make a film. You know what I mean? Right there. It's you don't have to think about all the visual effects and all those other things. You just make a simple, you make a good story, and that's really what it's all about 9 times out of 10, and it's also, you have a finished project. You have something you can show people, and I really like that, because sometimes you can work on a short film that's 11 minutes long, and that'll take you 2 years, depending on what you've got going into post or pre-production or budget-wise, and it's just nice to be able to focus on one weekend, one film. You have it, and now you can put it out there, and I think that's a big deal. So, for the showing and everything like that, how'd you guys feel when they called your name up there for best film?
Felt awesome.
It was amazing.
I mean, that's what you're hoping for when you go to do that. But I mean, you've got just basically what you can make in the time that you have. So you have no idea what anybody else is doing, and
there were a lot of good films, So it's just, you're sitting there and you just don't know. So that happening it was great. It was a great feeling.
So I ran out of time with Jason, but maybe you guys can enlighten me a little bit. When you win Best Film, what happens after that?
Then you go to compete at Filmapalooza, which is where all the city winners go to be screened and compete. And then in that, there's usually around 100 15 to 130 films, depending on that you're up against, and they're all first place winners for their city. And then they'll choose, I believe, 10 out of those to go to Cannes and screen there in the short film corner.
Didn't you guys go?
We did. Yeah,
Yes,
we did.
Yeah.
Was that last year?
It was 2014. Well, we did it. The film festival was 2013, and
Okay.
the Filmapalooza was 2014. So we went to Cannes in May last year.
Yeah.
And that was for the Donald Gordon story, which was directed by Joe Carey and co-written by myself and him. And it was, that was awesome. That was just a really awesome feeling.
How is Cannes? Did you see anybody like famous or anything there? Or?
We saw a handful of people, especially because the red carpet's just right there on the street. So whenever they're doing the stuff at night, it's all out there, and everybody's just lining up and stuff. And especially being part of the festival, it's like there's back places where people are sneaking off into limos in the back, and you can kind of catch them coming out occasionally and stuff, which is kind of cool.
In fact, he actually had 2 films because he was in the Donald Gordon story, and then he worked on another film that weekend that also got accepted to Cannes. So he had 2 films in Cannes, which was really cool.
Yeah. That was
All right.
awesome.
So really quickly to wrap it up, what's next for you guys? You got something that you're in the works right now, or?
Always. We're really trying to start. We've kind of talked about bouncing around doing kind of like a channel just to kind of get a bunch of little shorts out, and we've got a bunch of ideas that we've been wanting to do, and so we're trying to do something with that. And we've got a couple of feature ideas that we're looking at right now. So.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's all the time we have for tonight. Thanks to Jason Turner, Davis DeRock, and Chad Crenshaw for joining me tonight and having a great discussion about the Kansas City 48-Hour Film Project. Tune in next time as we talk more about the movie-making process. Again, I'm Josh Leonard, and that's a wrap for this episode of Upstart Film. Good night.